हाँ,
Good afternoon, respected children, ma'am, and my dear seniors. I'm presenting journal on the topic cold stored platelets, revisiting assumptions and addressing variability to support implementation. And my moderator is Dr. Sachin Sharma sir. First of all, storage of platelets. Platelet concentrates are highly labile components which are metabolically active throughout storage, and therefore it requires specialized storage bags which is gas permeable and is kept under strict temperature control. The objective is to preserve platelet viability and function, maintain its normal morphology, prevent bacterial proliferation, maximize post-transfusion recovery and survival, and minimize platelet storage leakage. Now coming to standard storage conditions, temperature is 20 to 24 degrees Celsius. These are according to the DGHS manual. Agitation, it is kept in continuous gentle horizontal agitation. It is usually stored in gas permeable plastic platelet storage bag. The shelf life is of 5 days and pH at expiry should be not more than 6.2, and relative humidity is ambient. Now, why are platelets stored at 20 to 24 degrees Celsius? Platelets are metabolically active cells. So at room temperature, they maintain discoid morphology, retain membrane glycoproteins, preserve ATP production, and survive longer after transfusion. And in vivo circulation time is of 7 to 10 days. Storage below 20 degrees Celsius produces shape change, platelet activation, surface glycoprotein clustering, faster clearance by macrophages, and shortened in vivo survival. Why continuous agitation is needed? Platelets consume oxygen and produce carbon dioxide throughout its storage. So continuous agitation increases gas exchange, prevents platelet sedimentation, maintains its pH, and reduces lactate accumulation and preserves platelet metabolism. Agitation is usually horizontal and is of 60 to 70 cycles per minute. Without agitation, oxygen diffusion decreases, anaerobic metabolism increases, lactate accumulates, pH falls, and platelet function deteriorates. Now, factors affecting platelet storage. First is temperature. The optimal temperature is 20 to 24 degrees Celsius. Too low will cause activation and clearance. Too high temperature will cause accelerated metabolism and bacterial proliferation. pH normally it should be 6.8 to 7.4, and minimum acceptable at expiry is not more than 6.2. Low pH causes irreversible platelet damage, poor recovery, and decreased aggregation. Now, platelet concentration, even very high platelet counts can lead to higher glucose consumption, acid production, and reduced storage quality. And storage bag, it is important because if it is having poor gas permeability, there will be reduced oxygen, anaerobic glycolysis, lactic accumulation, and therefore low pH. Shelf life, traditionally it is of 5 days, and it may be extended to 7 days when bacterial risk control measures are used according to regulatory requirements. Reason for limited shelf life is bacterial contamination, metabolic deterioration, and storage leaching. Now coming to cold storage of platelets, historically it is abandoned because of reduced circulation time, but recently it has been reintroduced in US and Norway because of having better hemostatic function, less bacterial growth, prolonged storage potential, trauma applications, military use, cardiac surgery. Its advantages are better clot formation, better aggregation, reduced bacterial proliferation, and potential shelf life up to 14 to 21 days. In US and Norway, they have started using shelf life up to 14 days. Disadvantages are rapid splenic clearance, shorter circulation, and not ideal for prophylactic transfusion. Now, cold stored platelets in India, the current status is it is not yet part of routine blood bank practice. India faces several challenges like high platelet wastage due to short 5-day shelf life, difficulty maintaining inventories in remote blood centers, risk of bacterial contamination during room temperature storage, and frequent shortages during dengue outbreaks and trauma emergencies. So cold storage has the potential to address these issues. Now coming to quality control parameters, a quality platelet unit should have swelling present, pH not more than 6.2, appropriate platelet yield, that is 5 into 10 to power 11, acceptable residual leukocyte count, no visible clumps, sterile component and intact bag. So I have taken this article from the journal Frontiers in Medicine, which has impact factor of 3.5. It has been published by Janvi Mahajan, Matthew P. Padula, Dennis Marks and Nessie Johnson from Australia, Australian Red Cross Life Blood. Now for over 50 years, PCs have been stored at 20 to 24 degrees Celsius with continuous agitation because room temperature storage provides longer post-transfusion circulation as compared to cold storage. But room temperature storage has disadvantage like bacterial proliferation, and this results in incredibly fragile supply chain, massive product wastage in rural areas, and critical vulnerability during system crisis as observed during COVID-19. Now, during the pandemic, they observed that there was blood resource wastage and outdating. So they started this practice, cold storage of platelets, which preserves metabolic capacity, and it was observed to have superior aggregatory properties, maintaining rapid clot formation and resolution and extended storage. Now, a brief comparison between the both room temperature platelets and cold stored platelets. Room temperature platelets are best suited for prophylaxis or preventing spontaneous bleeding in cases of thrombocytopenia. And these platelets are required to circulate for as long as possible. In vivo lifespan is 8 to 10 days, while cold stored platelets are best suited for stopping active bleeding. Like in cases of trauma and surgery, platelets are rapidly consumed in clot formation. In vivo lifespan is 2 to 4 days. Now the new problem they have found in this study is discussed under these topics. Significant changes in collection and processing since the 1970s have made historical assumptions obsolete. So modern cold stored platelets are phenotypically and functionally distinct, what they have found. First is collection, platform and preparation. So platelets can be prepared by both the methods, apheresis collection or pooled concentrates. So apheresis collection is single donor platform, and different machines impart varying mechanical and shear stress during collection, fundamentally altering long-term hemostatic properties. So it was found that amicus collected platelets showed higher glucose consumption, increased lactate production and reduced clot strength over 21 days as compared to the TREMA. And pooled concentrates, multi-donor, it is collected from multi-donors. Current data suggests viability for refrigeration, though pooled units show slightly higher activation markers, that is P-selectin by day 21. I've already discussed this. The clinical implication is these two studies have, using different collection systems may report different results even if the storage conditions are otherwise identical. Right now, there is a trial going on, CHIPS trial, that is chilled platelet study across US and Australia, which is currently in phase 3 trial, which may clarify further whether these laboratory differences translate into clinically meaningful outcomes. Coming to the second, the timing of refrigeration. So, earlier, historically, the FDA required refrigeration within 2 hours after collection to minimize the bacterial growth. Then this window was extended to 4 hours, and now it has been extended to 8 hours later, with no major increase in bacterial growth. So it was found that this 8 to 24 hours collected platelets, they showed minor functional decline, that is reduced aggregation response, and that is clinically insignificant for hemostasis, while delayed cold storage means the room temperature platelets which are near expiry, they are kept in cold storage, which was used for treating active bleeding, and it requires rigorous pathogen screening. Now coming to the storage solutions, that is plasma versus PAS. 100% plasma, that is the traditional method. It was observed that it maintains high concentrations of plasma-derived coagulation proteins, resulting in faster clotting times. But the drawback was that it shows significantly poorer in vitro quality metrics over extended storage durations. Whereas in PAS formulations with varying plasma proportions like PAS-E, PAS-F, PAS-C, it was observed that it preserves in vitro quality far better past 14 days. So, PAS preserves in vitro quality perfectly, yet in vivo data shows higher post-transfusion recovery for platelets stored in 100% plasma. So, in vitro data does not reliably predict in vivo outcomes in cold storage. Now, coming to component modifications and safety items. So, irradiation was used to inactivate T lymphocytes, which shows highly comparable quality and no distinct negative effect on cold stored platelets in PAS-E. And UV or photosensitizers, which when used for pathogen inactivation, it exacerbated the cold storage lesion, which resulted in higher phosphatidylserine exposure, greater microparticle release, lower aggregation response, and significantly reduced clot retraction. So for pathogen inactivation, these three technologies has been used: Intercept, Theraflex, and Mirasol. So it was concluded that Intercept and Theraflex increase platelet activation, oxidative stress, and other features of cold storage lesion. While Mirasol, evidence for Mirasol remains limited and requires further research. Coming to storage duration, cold storage slows but does not stop platelet deterioration. Fewer deleterious changes occur during the conventional storage of 5 to 7 day period, prompting studies of storage up to 21 days. So at present, US and Norway have accepted this 14-day cold stored platelets for actively bleeding patients when conventional room temperature platelets are unavailable. So progressive physical changes compound are seen further. Loss of surface glycoproteins and reduced functional capacity. Establishing the absolute functional limit is the goal of ongoing phase 3 trials, that is the CHIP study. Coming to the next, transfusion practices and temperature excursions. So many trauma patients receive blood through rapid blood warmers. So historically it was found that warming platelets was discouraged, but recent studies indicate that passing cold stored platelets through approved blood warmers does not significantly impair lab quality. So in this study it was also found that if there is no standard guidance on temperature excursions for cold stored platelets, unlike the clear 30 minutes rule for red cells. Now discussion. So this section identifies major knowledge gaps. First is quality control. Current QC criteria is for the room temperature platelets, which is not appropriate for cold stored platelets because they are fundamentally different products with longer storage periods. So it is suggested that newer lab approaches, including microfluidic models, may provide more clinically relevant measures of platelet quality. Second is optimal storage conditions. Many current practices for cold storage are borrowed from room temperature platelet storage without supporting evidence. So few questions are remaining unresolved in this study, that if agitation is necessary, or should bags be horizontally or vertically stored, what shelving arrangement should be there, does stacking affect gas exchange. So it emphasizes that these issues require systematic investigation. Third is donor variability. So donor related biological factors are also important. So this article suggests donor sex may influence thrombin generation and aggregation. Donor to donor variability contributes to aggregate formation. Donor characteristics may affect suitability for prolonged cold storage. However, it is stressed that clear predictive donor factors have not yet been identified. Next, operational and logistical challenges. Hospitals implementing cold stored platelets still need an inventory of room temperature platelets because these room temperature products remain preferable for prophylactic transfusion. Maintaining dual inventories increases complexity, cost, and risk of wastage, but experience during COVID-19 pandemic suggests that dual inventories can be managed successfully with appropriate planning. It also raised the possibility that future evidence may support broader prophylactic use of cold stored platelets. Now, explaining the mechanism, cold stored platelets suffer from heavily reduced in vivo circulation as compared to the room temperature platelets. Why? Because cold temperature induced surface changes, that is severe clustering of the GP1P alpha receptor on its surface and active removal of sialic acid from the membrane. So these physical changes act as a biological flag. They signal macrophages and hepatocytes in the liver to rapidly recognize, attack, and clear the cold stored platelets from circulation. So that's why their in vivo circulation is. Now the core issue is cold storage potentiates spontaneous clumping in the bag. This results in forced product discard, completely negating the benefit of an extended shelf life. Cold-induced activation of GP2B3A receptor causes platelets to permanently bind to one another. Identified risk factors are storage in 100% plasma due to high fibrinogen concentrations, extended storage durations approaching 21 days, and donor-specific physiological attributes, that is BMI of more than equal to 29 and donor sex alter the functional responses. So, managing separate room temperature for prophylaxis and cold storage for active bleeding inventories creates massive operational complexity and issuing delays. But because the 1.3-day half-life of cold platelets overlaps with standard 1 to 2 day prophylactic dosing interval, their short lifespan might not preclude their use for prophylaxis. A unified cold inventory could potentially serve both active bleeding and prophylactic. So conclusion, in the study it was concluded that cold stored platelets are a promising strategy to improve availability and reduce wastage. Variability in collection, processing, storage, and donor factors substantially influences platelet quality. Results from different studies should not be compared without considering these variables. Future work should focus on standardization and clinical trials rather than assuming that all cold stored platelet products are equivalent. So, the new standard of care. So, what is now the need of the ARIS? First, establish cold specific quality control, stop using room temperature benchmarks, develop microfluidic models that factor in shear blood flow to accurately reflect in vivo potential. Second is optimize past formulations, develop next generation platelet additive solutions engineered specifically to support taurine and purine metabolism during cold storage. Third is define physical storage parameters which determine exact physiological requirements for continuous agitation and mandate rules for vertical versus horizontal stacking at 2 to 6 degrees Celsius. And fourth is design tailored transfusion guidelines, standardize maximum out of fridge excursion limits, and validate targeted clinical applications beyond trauma care. So the limitations of the study are much of the evidence remains preclinical or in vitro. Randomized clinical data are limited. Heterogeneity in processing methods makes direct comparison difficult. Several recommendations await confirmation from ongoing trials like CHIPS and PLTS1. So these are the references.